Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Meech, or Meechasa if you prefer. This video is totally not super late to the party, but anyways, I'll be talking about why I dislike the new story for Tales of Tanorio. So with all that out of the way, grab a snack and join me on this rant of Tales of Tanorio. Wasted potential. First issue first is the god-awful Arksworth Cutscene. I don't know how they made this so much worse than it was. Like, I'd say it was way more decent in the original. It had some issues here and there, but like, it's just crazy. You can see here, I have two footages, one with the modern cutscene and one with the bottom, just so you can see it side by side what is completely different. And you can see here, we talk with Kira about her and her father, and it's such a nice heart-to-heart with her, and they just gutted it. There's no more character dialogue for her as far as I've played, which would be the start to the first gym. And we go straight into that, into chasing the Yoink Kit, which is fine. The Yoink Kit is a decent part of it. They could have had the Yoink Kit without having to change the entire thing. But oh well. You know, I guess. I don't know if they're going to change it just because I'm disappointed in the story, but hopefully other people will share my sentiment. Even like the goofy, I guess, curse words that Kira says, I always thought they were silly. Sure, but they gave her character. She doesn't really have that anymore. And I also just don't like what they did to Endu. Endu got it way worse than Kira. And then, the police, you find the police, and they tell you about how priceless the artifact is. It's more of a mysterious object. You don't get to know about what it truly is till after. Which is awesome, you know? It kind of puts more at stake, you know what I mean? It ups the stakes of what is lost. And then, in the modern, Endu just steals her bag. While he does steal the item, they don't call it the precious, like a artifact anymore. Or, you know, it's not mysterious anymore. And then we go back to the old footage, and you can see that we're talking to Kira again. She wants to help them, obviously, because she has morals. Again, another character development that you don't get anymore. That's sad. And we fight him for her bag, not for the item he stole from the museum. Originally, we fight him for, which isn't that crazy of a difference, but it just adds more lore, you know what I mean? Like, okay, we fight him for the bag. Couldn't we just have done both? And again, he was on the main bridge, by the way, like 5 feet away from us, where he stole both the stone and the bag, which makes no sense. At least in the original, he was like behind a rock trying to throw onto the skies, which seemed to have worked until we found him. So, you know, there was some more thought process going into that, at least for Endu. They just made him way too stupid in the new one. I just can't believe it, you know? And this fight makes no sense either. Well, I mean, for the modern one, Rabush gets put on your team for some reason. That's not the same in the other one. And if Rabush dies, by the way, it would force you to use one of your own in that slot, surfers, rather than just you 1v2ing, I guess. Maybe it's a balance issue. I don't know if it was a balance decision for that, or they just is some sort of unprecedented bug. Who knows, really. And then in the old footage, now we're getting to the museum, which again, Has more character development for Kira. Who would have thought? And the only thing I can think of why they like cut so much of it out for story wise is just because, you know, people with slow attention span. I have to assume. Like, that's the only thing I could think of. You know? And even if, they could have just had a skip dialogue button. There's so many lore heavy games, or like dialogue heavy games, like Genshin for example, that people still play. Sure, they might press spam M1 if they don't care about the story, but they'll still play the game. So I don't really understand the thought process behind changing the story so much and like removing so much from the actual story cutscenes. Because most of your gameplay is through in between the routes, not the cities. The cities, I kid you not, are about like 5-10 minutes a cutscene. And then you're just on the next city or into the next route. And you might look at the time on the video, you know, 33 minutes total time. Realistically, I played for about 2 hours. So 30-ish minutes of a 2-hour session from the start to Nikita, or first gym, or first battle stadium, whichever you'd like to call it. That's a little insane. That's such a small percentage, if you really think about it. And then Indy loses, obviously, because he sucks. And then we finally meet the police in the new one. And I don't know. I keep saying that I just don't understand the thought process between changing it for this. I just don't get it. Like they treat Indy as a bumbling idiot. They treat the cops as idiots. Like, he tries to make it such a big deal by doing the stole in capital letters and grand theft, yeah. You have any ideas? But then they just get bribed with coupons. Like, what's the point in putting all that in caps and calling it grand theft and whatnot, only for it to be bribed away, you know? And then you get to see Kira and Stephens in the old footage of them having another heart-to-heart with her, so that you can see that, hey, Stefan is Kira's father's friend. So, you know, it connects two characters together, and that's awesome. Don't get that anymore. Stefan's just sitting there in the new one. You'll see in a minute. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but yeah. Since you don't get to go into the museum, well, you get to go to the museum, but you don't do it for the cutscene, or like the story at least, which is kind of weird anyway, because contextually, you're here for research, right? That's all. You're a research partner, or assistant, or whatever, for Kira's father, and you get to the museum, well, to Arksworth, and you don't even do the museum at all for research, which is the whole reason you're there in the first place. To learn about Guardian reversion, which is awesome. It was cool to learn about that. I love that cutscene. Probably my favorite cutscene in the game. At least they didn't completely remove it, but it's optional now instead of through the story. Not even like a side quest either. If they had maybe a side quest, it might help a little, but yeah, it just kind of sucks. Well, not kinda. It does suck. It makes no contextual sense for the story. And you see, after, you know, the police talk to Kira and he just bribes them with burger coupons, then that cutscene's done. It's just done. You get to go to the next area. Whoop-de-doo. I know I must sound really angry, and I'm just very disappointed, really. I guess I couldn't necessarily care too much, because one, it's a story for a game on Roblox. Whoop-de-doo, they're not usually that high quality. And you say, like, oh, well, Roblox games don't usually have to be high quality. Technically not, but I feel how would I say this? They had a good thing going for the original. I don't understand the difference from going from that to this, You can see at the top, I'm going into the cutscene for Stefan because I wanted to even see if it was possible in the game. It is, but you don't get to see the heart-to-heart from Kira and Stefan anymore, so that's sad. Let's just remove all the character development, I guess. What makes our game feel lived in? What makes our NPCs feel relatable? Nah, let's just all throw that out the window, sure. You can see here, this is the next cutscene after, which the modern doesn't have, so you get to look at that. This one you talk to Endu, and you actually get to learn more about him. And actually know his motivation for stealing the Guardian Stone, which you don't get to find out anymore. That's completely removed, at least from the start. I don't know about after. If you've played past this and you want to go ahead and tell me what the story changes past this, feel free to comment down below. And this is a good cutscene too. I do like this cutscene. Because obviously it adds character development. And they decide to make Endu a bumbling idiot. With absolutely no motivation, by the way. You'll see this in a minute, what I'm talking about by motivation. There we go, yeah. So he says that he owed a favor to a woman who needed that stone. That was his motivation for that. Or reasoning. And then he wants a chance, it's like a chance. And that's relatable, that makes sense for the character. But no cutscene anymore for that. It's just sad, man. And then he clears the path for us so we can get to Pontero pasture. So, short cutscene, but it adds more and makes you understand and do better. And I'm sorry that there's no sound for the game, at least. For his, I just muted his footage because it would be weird for his to be on and then I didn't have my own my footage. I didn't have, it was mute for some reason, even though I made sure that I, recorded it with sound, but oh well, crap happens. And then this goes into the next cutscene that is completely different. Probably way worse than Arksworth. I have to say this one's way worse than Arksworth. We first get to meet, in the old one, we first get to meet his parents. Well, obviously see him talking to his parents. In the new one, he just says, "Oh, it was not cool of me." That's it. And Kira clearly doesn't care about that. And then it goes straight into us meeting his parents, finally. And this area is cool. I don't know why they made it so short, you know what I mean? And them not understanding. And then in the original, we get more relatability with Endu, where we see his parents, or specifically his dad, get on his case, He feels too pushy as a father, and I think it makes him relatable. Endu specifically. It makes Endu relatable. Yeah, like it gets on his case. That's completely it's not fully removed from the new one, but you don't really see it unless other than to the very end of the cutscene, and that's just because they keep the same dialogue for the end of the cutscene. Now you see the new cutscene. They just decided to just make it all about Kira, and she just looks at animals. That's it. There's no heart to heart with Endu or anything. And then we'll go into the next after the parents, where we talk with Endu in the original. And you want to know what this cutscene will do? It talks about his motivation. It fully shows, why he's doing what he's doing, and for who. And who needs it? Who needs Endu to be a relatable character? He's just a bumbling idiot. That's all we need him to be. There's no nuance. And I thought I was crazy because I was like playing the new one and wondering why they never mention it. I want to see it. They don't mention the fact that, his motivation for stealing it is because he wanted to be a Battlestar. That's it. He wanted to be a Battlestar. But new one, oh no, ain't no Battlestar. He doesn't need any big goals, big dreams. He doesn't need none of that. Like in the I keep saying original, but I need you to know what I'm talking about. And Kira even talks about, or asks him about him and his father, and then he talks more about that. It's just so much character development. Sad, man. Such a good cutscene just get ruined, butchered, obliterated. So sad, man. The new one, oh, he's just. And then we somehow, for some reason, fight his parents. They thought, oh yeah, we'll remove all the character development, but we'll add being able to fight his parents for some reason. I guess they thought, oh, there's not enough battles. Totally not enough battles in between the routes. We'll just have an extra one in this cutscene for some reason. And remove all the character development. Remove all the relatability of Endu. Remove his motivation. Remove his goal. Remove his dream. Just strip him down to being an idiot. An idiot that's also has nepotism for some reason. I just can't. I can't formulate, man, how disappointed I am. And I'm very curious if there's like the same writer that wrote, the new story as opposed to the old one, or did they just decide to completely change their mind on how the story will go? I don't know. And like I said, most of it doesn't even make contextual sense. So it just feels like a story you would have in the background without paying attention to. You know what I mean? So if you turn your brain off, which is what I did for like this fight, I remember I was like so disappointed in it that I was like, okay, I'm gonna just turn my brain off just to get through to first gym, because I almost quit here. I was like, this is so messed up, and I didn't want to have to remember this part of the story. I wanted to remember the original, you know, to not ruin the legacy of it. And that's what this does. It ruins it. Ruins its what it was doing, its build up, its everything. All for I don't even know what. Just makes no sense at all. If you guys want to put your thoughts of why they changed it the way they did in the comments, go ahead. I would love to read your guys' thoughts about this. And you see, in the original, they also tell you about what the saddle does. They don't do that. Well, maybe they do. It's kind of hard to tell from the footage, but I don't think they do. And then look, another cutscene they completely removed, where you first talk to Rya, which you get to see her personality through her dialogue with how she talks. Even her VA helps in here, but who cares about? You know, I keep saying that, but who cares about it being a bit longer? I don't understand why this cutscene's removed, because it doesn't like change anything of what maybe they decided to do with the story. It's just, you know, learning a bit about Rya's personality. That's it. Seeing that she's quite arrogant, quite narcissistic, and it makes it fighting her more fun. Then we go into the last part. Well, not last, but the Nikita cutscene for Grubhog. This one is fairly the same. The only thing that's different is obviously you start in the booth versus walking up to it. But as far as I know, the dialogue's pretty much the same. Exactly the same. So I was surprised that they decided to change everything else and remove a bunch of other stuff, but not change this cutscene at all. Well, okay, they changed it once. Well, not changed, but more of added onto it. They didn't change the dialogue, but they added extra dialogue onto it at the end, which you'll see in a bit. But yeah, it was the one cutscene that you thought maybe would get changed, because I'd say this is like the weakest of them. And they added some, you know, some foreshadowing. That's cool. But yeah, I do think the fight scene for Grubhog still looks bad though. It looks very unfinished. And then we go into the fight. After I finish this fight, of the new additional dialogue and foreshadowing. You can see in the original, you don't have that, so you just go straight to Nikita. And you might be wondering, why did I keep his footage in of him talking to NPCs? Obviously, because it was taking him quite long to do that fight compared to him, because he had a fire type. But yeah, so I just kept this in to kind of, you know. So you'll see that after the modern one, we go straight into Nikita Gym, because I didn't show the lobby for some. I forgot that I had the lobby. I had lobby footage, I just didn't. I must have cut it out. But yeah, you get to see the foreshadowing of, what was his name? Lampyro, I think? Yeah, Lampyro. That sounds like it. And then you can see I actually struggled with the puzzle. Mostly because it doesn't have a hint, and secondly, you could see that I just walked over that hole. There's like no visible wall, and you can just see how janky Roblox is that I was able to get to the end, and I even finished all the trainers without even touching the puzzle. because of how just janky they are. They can see through items. You don't have to be right in front of them to initiate the battle. Just a little silly. But yeah, then I finally, like, it took me like 20 minutes to, like, see, oh, there's a puzzle I gotta do. Because there's no hint. And you can see in the original, they literally tell you what stats the trainers are. So, you know, they give a hint. But no, they decided to remove her for whatever reason. Hell if I know. But yeah, the puzzle is just very easy once you actually know it's a puzzle. You'd be like, oh, you must just be really slow or stupid or whatnot. I like to think that maybe other people, you know, had the same issue. And didn't understand, because I thought these things were like, you know, decorative. They don't look flashy enough for me to think, oh, I have to, you know, push these to get rid of the tires. So it's cool that they decided to like go for a puzzle. I just wish they had a hint, you know. It's crazy that they gave a hint for like fighting 3 trainers, but not for a puzzle. So that's like my only gripe with the first for the gym puzzle. And then we go into Rya's room. Hopefully, this is so messed up. Damn it. I thought I set this correctly. Why is it like everywhere else? Hope this isn't the same when I... Okay, see, we go into Rya's room for Bolm. I tried my best to like... Holy crab. I tried my best to, you know, line this up with the original, and it was kind of hard though. So this is the best I could get. And obviously her starting dialogue is not different at all. Well, like, yeah, I don't think it's changed any. And then you can see, apparently there's 2 Ryas on my footage. Because the game's totally not buggy. Totally not. And this fight's just not much of anything. Like, you can see, wow, they had Bell Buzz. And then now it's Champolin. But, oh well. It doesn't make the fight any harder, I don't think. Like, if you have a fire type, you just easily blitz through this fight anyway. I just didn't pick a fire starter and I didn't catch one, so oh well. But you can see this. This is weird. Not weird, but... Well, I guess you could say weird. It's annoying though, look. Dynasty Gun has Guardian Reversion in the original. You'll see. You'll see something. Champolin's model's cool, but usually just how easily he was able to complete that with fire type. I didn't pick one. I didn't think about it, I'll be honest. I was like, oh yeah, I can use Aquazole. Because I had Charcoal on my main slot, so I didn't want to get the same one. And this is sped up too. My fight's sped up like 4 times, so it's crazy that... But it's fine, it's fine. We finally killed Champolin. And watch. There he is, Dynasty Gun. And look, he doesn't have Guardian Reversion anymore. I thought that was crazy when I thought, does Rya usually have Guardian Reversion? And then I went and like looked at this guy's footage to see if she did, and yeah, I was like, wow, why did they remove Guardian Reversion? Did they think it would make that fight that hard? I don't think so. I feel like the battle star should be a bit difficult, right? Otherwise, it's just beating her up, like crazy. They decided to remove Guardian Reversion, and I don't know if that's like a temporary thing, because maybe they just don't have the models for Guardian Reversion. I don't know, so don't take my word on that. If they're going to re-add him or not, who knows? But yeah, you can see I'm still not finished. And there's one cutscene left after I finish this, and I'll talk about it. And yes, I'm basically live reacting to my footage. Well, my editing or whatever. We get to talk to Kira, and it's mostly the same. There is a little bit different, like her talking about the battle stadium and the trading. But, oh right, they did remove one piece of the dialogue that she had before. Let me see. Yeah, she talks about the huge force beyond Nikito to kind of give you, and then her talks about her father again, talks about the beautiful canyon. So that's the reason you go past Nikito. In this one, she doesn't have that dialogue at all. It's just removed. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why. And then she talks about her asteroid too. And I thought, as crazy as well for this, that she talks about breaking down rocks. And I can see why they removed this, because it's kind of confusing. Even the guy in the footage is confused by what she meant by this. They're talking about if you're on your mount, you press space and you can break stuff in front of you, which you do need later on in the story, but I can see why they removed that dialogue. And then obviously there's no cutscene in the modern one for this, because she talks about, no, this is modern. I'm thinking the other one, that's for the old one. It's fine, but whatever. She talks about, the battle stadium, and, cool beans. It's fine. It's fine that she had that. It was weird for them to remove the forest part, though. But yeah. In conclusion, they decided to remove so much character development from Endu, from Kira, from even Rya. Even though you barely talk to her, I wish they kept hers in at least. It's not like there was any difference to it, or there needed to be any difference to it. So if you want to not have your mind going crazy, then like and subscribe, and you can watch my other content, because I'm probably not going to be playing Tales of Tanorio story mode at least. Maybe I'll do PvP when PvP decides to come out, whenever that is. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be playing story mode. I just can't put myself through it. I can't. Oh, with all that said, happy Hanukkah. Good night, y'all. Peace.